Hey guys, so today I thought I would do a Q&A style video on all of the questions you guys have been asking me on Tumblr, on Twitter, on Instagram about going vegan, veganism as a concept in general, and all the issues concerning it. So I'm going to be splitting my Q&A into different sections so that I don't end up with like a 30-minute long video, which I don't think would be very interesting. So the first Q&A, which I'm going to be doing today, is going to tackle what is veganism and basically how do I go vegan. So all of the questions on starting on a vegan lifestyle, learning a bit more about why people go vegan and what veganism really is. All of these questions are taken from my Twitter, which is positivesoph, my Instagram, which is positivesoph, and my Tumblr, which is positivesoph.tumblr.com. So if you have any more questions for future Q&As, please go and ask me over there. You can ask on anonymous, that's fine. Most of these are on anonymous. But yeah, I'll be answering your questions now. What is a vegan lifestyle? Veganism is a lifestyle. I want to emphasize more than a diet. So I would say that being vegetarian is a vegetarian diet, and then there's a plant-based diet, and then there's veganism. So vegetarians obviously don't eat meat, they don't eat fish, so they don't eat any flesh of an animal. Vegans don't eat any animal products, so that's no meat, no fish, no dairy, no eggs, no cheese obviously, no honey, and then they also do not use any animals in exploitation, so don't go to zoos, animal parks, that kind of thing where exploit animals, and don't use any animals in clothing, like fashion, makeup. So no leather, no wool, no silk, and then no makeup tested on animals, and no makeup with animal products in, such as carmine, shellac, and then obviously like gelatine, that kind of thing. So it's really about not exploiting animals in any way, not using animals, not using their products, nothing. So living equally to animals on this planet. Why do people choose a vegan life rather than a vegetarian life? Many people that ask me questions, I think, don't really know what goes into the dairy industry and the egg industry. And so I get quite a lot of questions saying like, why is this bad? Cows are meant to produce milk, chickens produce eggs, kind of thing. So I'm not going to go completely into it like freely style inserting pictures and videos in this video, because I do want this to be more talking about educational rather than kind of shocking you all. But I will link some documentaries that you really should watch. I really think everyone should watch down below. So Earthlings shows all of the different practices in factory farms, and then it goes on to pets and it goes on to clothing, etc. So that's a really must watch. That is on YouTube, so I'll link that down below. And then Cowspiracy shows all the environmental impacts of eating meat and animal agriculture in general, so I really think you should check that one out. And then there's Forks Over Knives, which is all about the health impacts of eating meat and dairy, and then the benefits of switching to a plant-based lifestyle. And also there's the 101 Reasons to Go Vegan, which is really, really good. That's more of a speech that someone's uploaded to YouTube, but it covers every single point in a really good way, so I'd recommend you watch that one. So I think the main thing that there's a problem with is people don't understand what the issue is with the dairy and egg industry. So obviously I'm gonna link resources down below so you can go watch them, but I just want to really quickly explain it. So in the dairy industry, obviously the female cows have to be pregnant all the time so that they can keep producing milk, otherwise they would have no purpose in the dairy industry. So they're artificially inseminated by the farmers so that they can become pregnant, and then once they have given birth, their babies are taken away from them, almost like the majority in the first 24 to 48 hours. So that their milk can be used for humans. So the babies are taken away. There's obviously a very emotional impact on that for the mothers, because like they've just given birth and their babies are ripped from them within the first like 2 or 3 days. So that's obviously the first issue. And then the female calves are taken right back into the dairy industry. They're going to have the exact same life as their mothers. They're going to spend their whole life in farms, in factory farms, being exploited for their milk, mistreated, a whole host of things. You can see the videos down below and it really is horrific. And then the male cows, they don't have any use in the dairy industry. They're sent straight off to slaughter to be slaughtered for veal, the issue is the dairy industry directly funds the meat industry. So all the cows, female and male, once they've come to the end of their use in the dairy industry, they're sent straight to slaughter and they're used in the meat industry. So a lot of people say, well, I'm vegetarian, I could go, like, this is the issue. I'm getting a bit off track now, and that's the issue with dairy. It's not only that you're abstaining from meat, because if you're drinking milk, then you are putting it back into the meat industry. It's all a cycle and you are being involved in it. So there's also so many different health problems that the female cows go through, etc, etc. I will link all the resources down below. As for the egg industry, hens lay a lot more eggs than they would normally produce if they were not in the factory farming, in animal agriculture. So once their eggs are laid, a proportion of them is hatched so that they can get obviously more egg laying chickens, and so all of the females chicks that are hatched go straight back into the industry. All the male chicks that are hatched, they have no use. Once again, like the male cows, they have no use in this industry, and they are put into basically a huge blender, onto a conveyor belt, into the blender, and they're just ground up alive immediately. And it's just horrific. Like, I'll link the videos down below that you can watch and resources you can read about if you don't want to watch the videos, but it really is unnecessary, and it's basically, even though the act of eating eggs you may not think has cruelty, there is so much cruelty surrounding it. I'm not even going to go into how horrific the meat industry is in this video, because there are no words I have to describe how awful it is. This is obviously, I'm talking about right now, is factory farm slaughterhouses, not independent farms. So before you all come at me saying, oh, I have a farm and I don't do this, yeah, I'm not, this is not the cruelty I'm talking about right now. In terms of any farm, any slaughter of any animal, veganism is really about reducing your impact of suffering on the planet, on humans, on animals, obviously. So the fact that any animal is killed in any way is the issue. It's not, oh, they had a good life, they were grass-fed, they were free range, etc. That's not the issue. It's the issue that at the end of the day, they're being used for our benefit. So we're exploiting them. They're not ours to use. We don't own any animal on this planet. They are not ours. They live the same life that we live. They are here to exist in cohabitance with us. They're not ours to breed just to die. Like, that is not what should be happening here, and that is what's happening in the industry, and that's the issue. Like, why have we taken ownership of every being on this planet and think that we're so superior that we can use them in any way we see fit? So yeah, is there a reason I don't use animal products? I eat milk and butter. Yes, they're not mine to use. It's cruel. They're exploited. Basically, it's horrific. A question that I got on Tumblr was, do you really frown upon those who eat eggs from their pet chickens? We raise our hens from eggs with their own mothers, treat them with homeopathic medication, give them free reign of our garden, and bury them when they die of natural causes. We do not eat them. They are entirely our pets, but they lay all these beautiful eggs every day in response to being fed organic corn and kitchen scraps, and therefore is it really terrible to eat them? So I do get quite a lot of people asking me, like, I have my own chickens, why can't I eat their eggs? Why is that cruel? The issue is, once again, we don't own them. So you say in this, they're entirely our pets. Okay, so you have them as your pets, you treat them like, you love them obviously, you treat them well, but at the end of the day, they're not ours. They're not ours to exploit, they're not ours to use for anything that benefits ourselves. They're just not ours. And I've got a quote from a website called freefromharm.org, which is really good for resources here, that is discussing backyard chickens, and it's from the author Charles Horn, and he said, if the desire is there to eat the eggs, did that consciously or subconsciously go into the decision to adopt them in the first place? If so, the intention was never just one of providing refuge, it was also one of exploitation. So another really good quote that I have on backyard chickens here from the same website, freefromharm.org, is that eating the eggs of backyard chickens also reinforces their egg industry role as layers, or egg-laying machines, as if to suggest that this is their primary purpose in life, which is incorrect. So we're basically reinforcing the idea that chickens are ours to use in any way we see fit. So it says they form deep bonds with other flock mates and other species like dogs and humans. And yet even if they didn't possess all of these advanced cognitive abilities, such as leading rich and complex social lives, having many interests and are keenly self-aware, they're sentient beings who feel pain and pleasure much like we do. And sentience, not intelligence, is the basis of how we should treat others. By eating eggs, we're implying that the worth of chickens amounts to what they can produce for us as a food source rather than focusing attention on where it should be, their intrinsic work as individuals. Just as we don't see any human beings or human secretions as a food source, similarly, we shouldn't see any sentient being or their secretions that way either. So it's all about the idea that they're not ours to use. Why do we think that we can use them in any way to benefit us when they're just here to live, they're just here to exist? By all means, have chickens, treat them in a really good way, treat them as much as you would any other animal you had, any other family you had. Make them part of a family, rescue them from egg-laying farms, etc, etc. Have them in your garden, but please don't think that that automatically makes you deserving of their egg. It's not up to you to make that decision. It's not up to you to decide whether you can take something from someone when they cannot consent or they cannot give it to you, basically. It's not ours to take, and therefore we should not be taking it. That is just, in my opinion, it's another form of reinforcing the exploitation that we do see in the egg industry, because it's reinforcing this idea that they're producing them for us to take, and that is basically, that's not the reason. They just exist here to live,